What if doing more didn't have to mean pushing harder? In this episode, I'm talking about the power of regulation, how managing your energy and senses can help you expand your life without leaving you drained and exhausted. I'll share the simple shifts that helped me move from overwhelm to confidence and how you can begin that same transformation. Hey lady, welcome to the Highly Sensitive Woman podcast. Do you struggle with self-doubt, setting boundaries, or feeling overwhelmed? My name is Alyssa, and I'm a highly sensitive woman who spent years trying to fit in, ignoring my own needs, and living in constant fear of disappointing others. But I finally discovered the power of embracing who I am, and now I don't feel so broken. In this podcast, you'll learn to find your voice, set boundaries, and live with bold confidence and inner peace. Grab a cozy blanket. It's time to connect with someone just like you. It is episode 34 of The Highly Sensitive Woman, and I am just thrilled to talk about today's topic because as a highly sensitive woman, for the longest time, I was jealous, honestly. I was jealous of people who had more energy and didn't get so easily overstimulated and overwhelmed because I thought that they got to experience more of life. They got to do more things. They got to enjoy the things that they were doing more. And I had some jealousy and some frustration with how I was wired and just thought that I was missing out on so much. And this past weekend, I went to a neighborhood meet and greet, and it was an interesting thing for me to kind of see how much I have changed in practice. So there was a time when, and I have mentioned this before, where I didn't really leave the house. I was just so overwhelmed and so overstimulated and so full of anxiety that I couldn't really leave the house. And my nervous system was just in constant protection mode. And then I started to shift, and there, kind of became this time where I was able to force myself to attend events, but I had to rely on going with someone and staying next to my companion for safety the entire time and very minimally engaged with the other people who were there. And then I started being able to force myself to attend events and didn't necessarily need the companion, but still kind of struggled to engage. And I was so drained when I would get home from it. And now I am able to, most of the time, use the tools that I have acquired and awareness to kind of regulate my system before, during, and after that allows me to have a calm presence and establish authentic connection and still have energy left after I get home. And that happened this weekend when I went to this meet and greet. Yes, I definitely had a little bit of anxiousness about what to wear. And as women, I feel like we can relate to that topic. But I had never been to a neighborhood meet and greet before, so I didn't know what to wear. But outside of that, I didn't have the anticipatory anxiety that I used to experience. And while I was there, I was able to, quote unquote, work the room and chat with all of these strangers. And I didn't need my companion right next to me the entire time. And I was able to just engage and enjoy myself. And it wasn't about pushing through anxiety. And none of the stages were about pushing through anxiety. It was about learning how to work with my nervous system. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about what it really means to regulate your system and why it matters. So regulation is your ability to stay connected to yourself even when your environment is very stimulating and even unpredictable. And what happens when you are able to stay connected to yourself and honor what it is that you need, you build trust in your body and your mind, and you create this foundation for building your confidence and expansion of what you can tolerate, expansion of what you are capable of doing. And there's just this very big difference between managing your energy and suppressing your emotion. And so often we try to do the latter. We try to suppress the anxiety and we try to pretend like it's not there, or we try to suppress that we are feeling so overwhelmed by all of the stimulating things that are happening around us, and we try to push it down and like kind of beat our nervous system into submission, right? And if we know anything about what it means to be a highly sensitive woman, we know that that does not work. And that if we press it down, that leaves us in a very depleted or overwhelmed state. It often leads to an explosion, so to speak, right? Where all of the emotion bursts out of us, or like just a complete shutdown. And what I want us to really focus on doing is shifting into learning how to manage the energy and regulating our systems so that it can allow us to flow and enjoy the things that we want to do and not feel like we have to avoid them. Because when we regulate our system, it allows us to expand our capacity. And our capacity is the byproduct of consistently regulating and a willingness to push yourself, even if it's a tiny bit, and then regulating and pushing a little bit more and regulating. And when you do that, your capacity is going to expand because you're going to grow that safety, and your body is going to know that no matter what, you're going to take care of it. So I like to use this analogy of training, like physically. So right now I am in the midst of training for a half marathon, and I am going to be talking about that in future episodes because this is a really big goal for me that has been a long time coming. So I will talk about that more in the future. But a few months ago when I first started, I could not run consecutively for 10 minutes. And I'm just using that as a starting point for my example. And even today, I've been doing this for a couple of months, I still can't run consecutively for 10 minutes. But initially when I started, I had to walk for 3 minutes, and then I could run for 1 minute, and I could do that for 5 cycles before I needed to walk the rest of the distance or time that I had planned for that day. And then eventually I worked my way up to I could walk for 3 minutes and run for 1 minute for 10 rounds. And over time, I have progressed to I can walk for 2 minutes and run for 1 minute for now 15 rounds. So I use this example because the walk was a way to kind of conserve my energy and allowed me to run for more total minutes and a longer distance than if I had tried to run for 10 consecutive minutes all at once. And as I continue to train, I'm expanding my capacity to do more with less rest needed. And this is true of all of our energy, whether that energy is coming from our thoughts that is causing us to expend some energy, whether it's our nervous system is overstimulated by all of the sensory things that are coming at us, if it is our energy is going toward trying to push ourselves beyond our comfort zone. Whatever the case may be, this concept of learning how to manage your energy, when you conserve your energy and you have some pace and you allow yourself to replenish your energy intentionally, you create more room to expand your capacity, which allows for more room for joy and presence and connection. I mentioned a couple of different ways that we expend energy, and for us highly sensitive women. One of those is our sensory needs and how we can kind of get overstimulated pretty easy by light and sound and timing and rest. And it is all part of regulating yourself, and you are not babying yourself, or you're not being a wimp or a weenie or any other words that you might use to describe yourself or feel like you are less than others because you need to consciously be regulating. But instead, you are accepting who you are and how you were made, and you're learning how to live the life that you want in conjunction with your sensory needs. So I wanted to give an example of one of my clients recently went on a cruise. And so we did a lot of preparation, because that is one way that you can conserve energy, is mentally preparing yourself for the challenges that you think might come, because your brain is going to offer you a lot of things that it think could go wrong. And so if you just kind of address those head on and you prepare for all of those different scenarios and what skills you might use or tactics you might try in those moments, that can really help with conserving energy. And so we did that in preparation for the trip. We talked about things that were coming up for her as potential challenges and options for how to deal with them, so she felt really prepared going into the trip. There were also times where she found herself kind of overstimulated by the lights and the sounds and all of the things that are happening on a cruise ship. And she allowed herself to step away and give her nervous system a break. And so she built trust with her body and her mind that she didn't have to avoid the lights and the sounds and all of those things entirely. She just needed to learn when to walk away for a bit. And what was so incredible about this experience for her is that as a result of implementing the things that we have been working on in our one-on-one coaching sessions, she was able to really enjoy the trip and is talking about going on future vacations. And we're, kind of evaluating what worked well from this one and what she might try differently the next time. And this is what really lights me up, is when people through our work learn how to enjoy the things that they really want to do and don't feel limited by their nervous system and their senses. And instead, they learn how to kind of have an energy budget and ways that they can spend it wisely and still have energy left over for what really lights them up. And that can happen for you too. You can learn how to have your budget, and you can expand that, right? Like in our banking systems, we can always be adding to it, and we can learn ways to save and conserve our financial resources. And in the same way, we can learn ways to save and conserve our energy resources. And what comes from this is an incredible emotional transformation, because you learn how to go through life not needing to armor up for every experience, and instead you can kind of just go through each of those experiences feeling steady and self-assured, and know that you will take care of yourself. And this regulation translates into freedom. Freedom to engage, freedom to connect, and freedom to enjoy life without a constant depletion. So it's this wild cyclical experience where you just start building on each opportunity to practice regulating and expanding, and the next thing you know, you are traveling more, you are socializing more, and you are taking on new challenges and really just getting out there and living, and not necessarily looking at some of those, 80% counterparts who aren't necessarily highly sensitive people, and looking at them with some jealousy the way that I used to. Because regulation is the bridge between self-protection and self-expansion. One of my mentors always says that change happens when we start asking better questions. So I want to leave you with a couple of questions to ponder. Are there places where you are already regulating well, even in the tiniest of ways? And are you noticing times when you have a new awareness, pause, you're responding differently than you would have in the past? If that is true, then you are already beginning the rewiring of your system for safety and ease. And so I just want to ask you to build on that and take a look at where you could bring more awareness or preparation so that you can feel safer. And where do you feel most regulated and can tap into more of that? If you're realizing that you want support in asking better questions, ones that can help you understand your sensitivity, your energy patterns, and what regulation can look like for you, I would love to help. You can schedule a free consultation to explore coaching and see how we can work together to expand your capacity for calm, confidence, and connection. Because regulation is not about doing less. It's about allowing yourself to experience more of life without losing yourself in the process. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may be feeling like she's broken too? I'd love it if you'd leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It brings me so much joy to know this podcast is helping you. Now it's time for me to stop talking and go soothe my senses in nature. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode. Take care.